A lot of you have been asking me about this, but yes, I watched Kpop Demon Hunters several times, actually. So I was initially planning on saving this topic for a spilled ink drawing and yapping episode, because that's usually where you can hear me talk extensively about whatever I'm interested in at the moment. However, we are currently traveling, and we can't record any spilled ink episodes right now. And we unfortunately didn't have time to record a draw and yap session talking about Kpop Demon Hunters in like the week leading up to us flying out for Anime Expo. So I figured, we're on vacation. You know what? I may as well record something just to get my thoughts out there and then put it on my main channel. So, as you can see, the visuals are severely lacking in this video. But please understand, this is about the best I can do for now with what I currently have. And also, I kind of have a lot I want to talk about, which would be too much to draw anyway. So I figured I could keep it casual. And you can pretend like I'm trapping you in a voice call and forcing you to listen to me ramble. So you can listen to this while you fold laundry, or do the dishes, or draw. So there's not going to be a lot going on screen for most of this video. Also, I should probably mention, if it wasn't already obvious, I am not a film critic, or movie buff, or even a commentary YouTuber in any way, so I'm not really here to give any particularly thought-provoking analyses of the movie. I'm just here to talk about why I liked it, and why it's been taking up extra space in my brain for the past few weeks or so. I've gotten really good at doing that, as you can tell from the back-to-back uploads of my Love and Deep Space content, so for anyone who was waiting for me to talk about literally anything else, here it is! So I don't think anyone's going to be super surprised by this. But also, on the topic of not Love in Deep Space, but like the themed hangouts that I've been making videos about, I am actually planning a themed Kpop Demon Hunter inspired viewing party. It'll be fun. I'm not going to make a video about it, but I encourage you guys to try it out too. Because imagine this. Viewing party, okay, with kimbap, ramyeon, tteokbokki, soda, and then for dessert, you can get 팥빙수, because I'm pretty sure they showed that at one point in the movie, and possibly karaoke session with the soundtrack. I'm currently in the process of planning like 2 separate IRL hangout sessions doing this exact thing. So I'm really excited for that, and crossing my fingers and hoping that my friends are still interested in rewatching this movie by the time I'm back. Anyways, side tangent aside, this is definitely not a format that I'm used to, and obviously I'm not expecting this video to be a banger or anything. I'm literally just talking to myself for however long this video ends up being, so it's also not going to be super organized. Final disclaimer, before we begin, this video will be heavy on spoilers for Kpop Demon Hunters, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on Netflix, it's only like an hour and a half, so not a long watch, and it's fun. Because I'm warning you, if you haven't seen it and you choose to stay and listen, I won't stop you, I physically can't, but I'm not going to explain the plot, because personally, I hate when I click on a video wanting to hear someone's thoughts on a movie and they just spend half the time explaining the plot from start to finish like I didn't watch the same damn movie. So go watch the movie if you're interested. This very one-sided voice call is not going to go anywhere. I will be here. Okay, so Kpop Demon Hunters. Did you guys enjoy it? Did you like it? First thing that I want to mention, I know the title sounds kind of corny and probably put some people off from the get-go, but I personally love it. I love how straightforward it is. I would honestly kind of hate it if they Disneyfied or Pixarified the title and made it a single describing word, like Huntrix, or Golden, or just one name, like Rumi. Ugh. It's just Kpop Demon Hunters. It's about a K-pop group that hunts demons. It's perfect. It's a flashy movie, and I think it deserves an equally flashy name that doesn't make it sound pretentious or like it's trying to hide the fact you're going to hear K-pop musical numbers. I get why people don't like the title, but I personally, I would hate it if it was just one of those one-word titles. I don't like those. So obviously, I liked the movie. This video wouldn't exist otherwise. But I sort of had a feeling that I would like it because this is the same studio that brought us Into the Spider-Verse. And Into the Spider-Verse was a religious experience back when I first watched it. You know when you walk out of a theater and you're overcome with that feeling of like, oh my god, that was one of the greatest things I've ever watched? I've only felt that way a couple of times in my life. I first got that feeling, not in a theater, but it was when I watched Spirited Away in my 3rd grade classroom at the age of 9. Another time was when I was in high school and I watched Wreck-It Ralph in theaters for the first time. And then also, all 4 times I watched Into the Spider-Verse in theaters. So, Kpop Demon Hunters did not give me this feeling. It actually left me with a different feeling because all the other movies that I just mentioned were like solid, perfect start to finish. I have no notes, no sequels necessary. We don't talk about Ralph Breaks the Internet because, as far as I'm concerned, that movie never happened, so we're not going to talk about it. But when I finished watching Kpop Demon Hunters, I was instead left with a hole in my heart that needed to be filled with a multi-season series, a webcomic, and 3 more albums. It left me wanting more. Like, I need an album showcasing songs from all the different generations of hunters through the ages. Like, just from that one little snippet at the beginning where it showed all the different decades of hunters, give me an album with a song from each of them. And even though it's not a perfect movie with perfect pacing and perfect writing, I don't think it has to be. I think with the current trend of soulless sequel slop and nostalgia bait live-action remakes of animated films, Kpop Demon Hunters was such a fun, rewatchable treat, especially because you can tell it was made with so much love and creativity by everyone who worked on it. Okay, the synopsis alone. K-pop idol group who fights demons and powers a spiritual barrier through the power of song and has a bitter rivalry with a demon boy band. It's such an out there idea on paper, but I love it, and I would love for there to be more creative, original story ideas like this in animation. And most of the criticism I have about this movie is just because it only had like an hour and a half to tell its story, so I know it's not realistic to expect every character to be fleshed out within such a short time frame. Which is why I'm like, damn, I need a show. And I think a lot of people feel this way about the movie too. For example, I want to know more about Rumi's mom, because I don't even think we got to even know her name in the movie. All we know is that she was a hunter, she had a baby with a demon, and died, possibly from childbirth, ? I want to know what happened to Rumi's dad. How did Rumi's mom fall in love with a demon? I want to know more about the group that she was in with Celine. Also, Celine. I just know if given the time, her character arc and story would have gone crazy. I've already made my own personal headcanons because I feel like the potential for angst for her particularly would be amazing. Like, okay, near the end of the movie, that one line Rumi says when she asks Celine to kill her, and she's like, "Do what you should have done a long time ago." It made me think, do you think that Celine perhaps considered killing Rumi when she was a baby and she first saw her markings? Because we know Celine cares about Rumi, but considering how strongly Celine feels about demons, I feel like that's definitely something she might have considered doing in the moment, especially if Rumi's mom did in fact die in childbirth, which would also make sense with why Rumi feels so much shame about her being part demon, and why she feels so much pressure to live up to being the best possible hunter/performer, because she probably knew since she was a kid that if she didn't live up to Celine's expectations, then she'd have every reason to kill her. The angst! Think about it. But also, I thought about this more. Celine is seemingly unmarried and has no other children of her own. So I'm like, what if this is like a Rose Pearl Greg situation where she really loved Rumi's mom? And what if she was deeply resentful of the demon dad, and that's why her maternal love for Rumi is so complicated, because she's latching on to what she has left of her mom while also having to be constantly reminded of the demon that inadvertently robbed her of any closure she could have had with her. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm telling you, if this was a multi-season show, the angst would have gone crazy and I would have eaten it up. Again, I know the movie doesn't have the time to explore Celine or Rumi's mom, or even the third Sunlight sister, who I'm also very curious about. So all I have to work with is my own imagination, and hopefully, potentially, an art book or concept sketches book with, like, notes, if they ever release one. Please! I'm begging! Netflix, please! Sony, or whoever's in charge of this, please! Another question that I have is, how exactly are demon hunters chosen each era? The intro of the movie states that hunters are born with voices to drive back darkness, which makes me think that powering the Honmun is one of those things that you're born with, like being the Avatar. Except, unlike the Avatar cycle, it doesn't get transferred over when the previous hunter dies through, like, reincarnation, because Celine is still alive. So now I'm wondering, does Celine still have the ability to power the Honmun, or did that go away when the other girls were born? And assuming the hunter trait isn't passed down through generations of magic nepotism, like what seems to be the case for Rumi, how did Celine find Mira and Zoe? Is it a situation where the previous hunters have to pass down their gift by picking who to give it to? Like, for example, if you're a hunter and your group starts falling off, is that when you're supposed to start looking for another young potential hunter? How does it work? I want to know. And by the way, I am not at all saying that the movie needed to answer any of these questions. These little world-building details aren't super plot relevant to the movie and the story that they were trying to tell. I'm just saying that I selfishly want to know more about these characters and the world that they live in. I take no issue with it being wrapped in a 1.5 hour movie, because I'm guessing that it being a movie is what made it possible for it to look as visually stunning as it does. I'm just saying, if they ever want to make a sequel or a prequel or a series, there's a lot of material to work with and a lot of interested people who would tune in to that sort of thing, myself included. Like, I would love to watch a whole episode showing Rumi first meeting Mira and Zoe and having like a training montage of them learning how to fight together with the perfect synergy that they have, because the fight scenes in the movie look incredible. And speaking of Mira and Zoe, I also would love to know so much more about them. I know we didn't get to see a whole lot of them or their lore because the movie was mostly focused on the growing relationship between Rumi and Jinu, but I really loved seeing the little moments of friendship and the girls interacting, like the one-on-one scene between Mira and Rumi. I like seeing all the little ways that their personalities shine. Like, one little detail that I really liked is how, even though Mira has this super tough girl crush look to her, she still wears purple bows in her hair and fuzzy pajamas when she goes to bed. I know it's such a minor detail, but it's something I picked up on my second rewatch, and I really liked it. And I also really like how Golden gives us a small look into Mira and Zoe's backgrounds, even if the movie didn't have much time to get into them. Like how Mira grew up in a strict traditional family and wasn't really allowed to express herself comfortably, and how Zoe felt conflicted over her Korean American identity and sense of belonging. In case you're wondering, Zoe is my favorite huntress out of the three, which is not a surprise since I've always been drawn to like the super cheery, Genki girl characters. And at the part where Gima was voicing everyone's insecurities right before the Saja Boys concert, when that voice told Zoe, "You're too much and not enough," gutted me like a fish. Gutted. I was like, oh, I didn't know my insecurity demon voice was gonna make an appearance. That's crazy. Wow, it kind of hurt a little too much. But I feel a kindred spirit within Zoe. But on the topic of insecurities, there's one scene that I felt didn't hit as hard as it was supposed to. It was the part where the girls are fighting the demons on top of the subway, and Rumi is clearly distracted and not fighting as well. And Mira's like, "Hey girl, why are you f***ing up the honeymoon? What are you hiding from us?" And Rumi responds with, "Not everything's about your insecurities, Mira." I'm not gonna lie, that response didn't make that much sense to me. I get that it was supposed to be a moment of tension between Rumi and the girls, but I think that response would have hit harder if we knew a little more about Mira's character and what her insecurities actually were. Because before this moment, it's not really ever stated that Mira's insecure about people being secretive around her or not trusting her, which I don't think she is. And her pushy concern over Rumi feels pretty reasonable considering people are literally dying. I don't know, I feel like if Mira's part was worded a little differently, like, "Hey, do you not trust me? Do you think I won't be able to handle it? Are we not a family?" Then the "not everything's about your insecurities, Mira" outburst would have made more sense, and maybe also punch a little harder, because we know that Mira cares so much about having a found family who accepts her for all her abrasive qualities. I don't know, again, I'm just nitpicking. If I could change anything, any of the scenes in the movie, I'd probably tweak that one a little bit. Circling back to Rumi, I love that the trailer didn't give away her markings or the fact that she's half demon. I hate it when trailers reveal important plot points, and the fact that it was revealed to the audience mid-song, like right in the middle of Golden, and not through exposition, amazing. I remember Didus and I were genuinely caught by surprise when she revealed her patterns, especially because before this point, we were both actually kind of nervous about what direction this movie was going to take. Because I know this is like meant to be kind of a kid's movie, I'm pretty sure, but that gassy bit at the beginning where they interrupt the demons by burping, I didn't find it very funny. And Like, the humor felt really juvenile, and we were worried it was going to be like an entirely unserious movie with nonstop unfunny gags. But they really amped up the stakes with the half-demon thing, and also just having people just straight up die. But also, side note, if I could make another little nitpicky complaint, and this is just like a personal pet peeve of mine when I watch anything, I kind of hate that Rumi and Mira had the exact same hairstyle and color since they were kids. I know they're animated characters, and I think it's to make it easier to tell which character it is, but both of their hairstyles look like something that you would see conceived by a K-pop stylist, which makes sense for them being K-pop idols. But also, you're telling me Mira had a strict traditional family and they let her dye her hair pink and have it down to her knees at the age of 5? I'm calling BS! I also just really don't like the trope where they show flashbacks to characters when they were kids, and they have the exact same hair as when they're an adult. Look, I know I need a healthy amount of suspension of disbelief for this movie as it is, but I'm drawing the line at Rumi having that big-ass purple braid her entire life. Okay, moving on to Bobby. I love Bobby. I love that he loves and cares about the girls, and the fact that he's not even aware of how important their role is as hunters. Like, he has no knowledge of the world being dependent on them doing well. He just loves being their manager and taking care of them, and I think that's really sweet. I really liked the part in the movie where he's staring out the window and he's like, "It's just social media numbers, Bobby, not the end of the world." And then it hard cuts to the girls' POV where they all see the red spots of the honeymoon because to them the stakes are in fact that high. I thought that was a great visual gag. Also, he's so cute. I love little scenes where you see him doing their choreo in the background while they're dancing on stage. Bobby, you are everything to me, and I want to know your origin story. I remember when I forced Sydney to watch this movie with me during Anime Expo, we both made the observation that Bobby kind of reminded us of one of the Geeks Plus staff at our agency, and it only made the character more endearing to us. Bobby is great. Great character. Love him. What is next? Okay, unpopular opinion. I'm okay with not knowing anything about the other Saja boys, because I don't think they were ever intended to be anything more than accessories to Jinu's boy band plot. I love seeing all the fan art of them and all like the shipping fan art, but I think they make it pretty clear that they're just regular schmegular demons who use illusions to make themselves hot. Whereas Jinu is, for some reason, like a hot demon by default. But then that also makes me wonder, why is he the only hot demon? Where are all the other hot baddie demons? And are there any other demons in the underworld that were once human too? Or is he like a special case? Also, since we're on the topic of Jinu, yeah, I know, he's hot. I remember I posted on Insta about how I thought he was hot, and then everyone in my DMs was roasting me like, "Girl, you like him because he looks like Caleb." Actually, I like him because he has dark hair and strong eyebrows and a look of mischief. If Kpop Demon Hunters wasn't a movie, I would love for Jinu to have like a Zuko-esque character arc where he's like a giant dickhead for an entire season and then slowly warms up in that slow burn enemies to friends to lovers dynamic, and then he sacrifices himself in the end. Because my favorite Jinu scenes were the parts where he was just a giant asshole to Rumi. Like the end of Soda Pop where he stares at her and then brushes his shoulder to mock her. Chef's kiss! That combined with his like dorky, clumsy moments, fantastic. I'll take 14 more episodes of that exact dynamic. There's just something so tasty about a scheming little dickhead who also has awkward moments. Scheming little dickheads in fiction, I should clarify. For the record, I don't think assholes are hot in real life. Like, even with the guys who subscribe to the whole asshole to the world except your girl mentality, I don't think that's attractive at all. Kindness and humor will always be the sexiest quality to me. But if we're talking fiction, we love a mean, emotionally conflicted character. And side note, I think it's so annoying when guys are like, "Oh, a manipulative red flag character? Is that what women really want?" No! Obviously not! I don't assume every guy who thirsts after characters like Makima and Esdeath secretly want a hot, sadistic, manipulative murderer. Maybe some of you do. I don't know. Don't let me speak for you. In a sort of similar vein, Daidas thought the Huntrix girls were hot. Like, their designs, gorgeous, beautiful. But he thought Mira and Zoe were the hottest when they weren't even themselves. He thought they were the hottest when the demons were shapeshifting to look like them and pushing Rumi around on stage during the reprise of Takedown. Because every time we watch that part of the movie and they're doing that evil little strut on stage and looking super bitchy, he reacts to it the same way that I react to Jinu acting like a little shitter. Anyways, we're getting off topic. Back to Jinu. One thing that I really liked about Jinu is how they made him genuinely kind of f***ed up. He's not a surprise twist villain, and he's also not a totally sympathetic, misunderstood villain or a blameless victim. He has done and continues to do terrible shit throughout the whole movie. Like, yeah, you could argue that he felt bad about having to abandon his mom and sister and that he's being used as a puppet for Gima. Both things are true, but forming an evil K-pop demon boy band was his idea. Going out of his way to be a dick to Rumi was all him. Also, let's not forget, he actively kills scores of civilians over the course of the movie. And he was fully prepared to sacrifice an entire stadium's worth of people for the sole purpose of erasing his memories of family members who've been dead for centuries, because he felt guilty. It's not like if he fulfilled a certain quota of souls for Gima, then he'd be granted freedom, or be able to have his soul pass on, which would have been maybe a more sympathetic reason. But no, it was just to erase his memories. He would still be a demon servant for Gima, just without the part of him that still felt bad. He views everyone around him as a means to an end, Rumi included. And I just want to say, him taking Rumi's words that she told to him when she was opening up to him, and then using them against her later through his demon cronies, the part where she's like, "I'm a mistake, I have been since the day I was born." And then he uses illusions of her best friends to repeat those same words to her. That was crazy! That was evil! Like, the guy kinda sucks, but that's also what makes him great. And I know it sounds like I'm bashing him, which I'm not at all. I think he's a great character, but I really liked that the movie highlights his selfishness, because it really shows that that is the source of all his guilt and misery. The whole movie, he feels super conflicted about taking advantage of Rumi's trust and his own growing feelings for her, and ultimately he gives in to his original plan of mass murder because he doesn't believe he deserves to even attempt to have a happy ending in any way. Because for him, he's a demon inside and out, and has been for centuries, and a situationship with a cute, half-demon K-pop idol wasn't going to change that overnight. I like that they made it so that he gives in to the shameful, manipulative side of himself. Because I think if they had him do a complete 180 and agree to help Rumi after like one romantic duet, I think it would have undermined the power that Gima has had over him for years. It's heartbreaking, but for the story, I thought it made a lot of sense. And I wasn't actually all that upset about him dying in the end, because, number one, I kind of saw it coming. Like, I felt it was a fitting end for this character who wanted to atone for every selfish thing he's ever done. And what better way to wrap that story arc up with, like, the ultimate move of self-sacrifice? And number two, again, the movie is only like an hour and a half, so I didn't have that much time to get super emotionally attached to him. Best believe, though, if this were a multi-season series where we got to watch him and his relationship with Rumi grow, and then it ended with him dying, I would have been inconsolable. But with the time we were given, it was so soon after he pulled that, like, ultimate betrayal move on Rumi that I was kind of like, you know what, you can die. Go ahead. Bye. You were hot, though. Also, another thing to mention, someone pointed this out before, but in the opening sequence of the movie, you see the first hunters saving a bunch of civilians, and someone pointed out that two of the civilians kind of look like Jinu's mom and sister. I don't think there was any significance to this detail, and if I had to guess, I think maybe they just reused some of the models, but it got me thinking. If Jinu's mom and sister did get saved by hunters at one point, then maybe Jinu holds some resentment towards demon hunters because they're a constant reminder to him of how he failed his family. Which would also explain why he goes out of his way to be a huge dickhead to Rumi and the girls. I'm just saying, again, the potential for angst is there. If this were a show, I would love for this to be explored. I feel like Jinu and Rumi are more complicated than the movie has time for, and I think that's why people make so many headcanons and theories about both them and even the other minor characters and the Huntrix girls. Okay, let's move on to finally talking about the music, which I think is the thing that has generated the most hype for this movie. The soundtrack for this movie is undeniably good. I think it's one of those soundtracks where if it doesn't hook you immediately, it will rapidly take over your brain like a disease. Immediately after we finished watching the movie, Daitis was like, Yeah, the soundtrack was alright, but he wasn't super attached to any of the songs. And then, guess what? The very next morning when I woke up, he was blasting Golden on his speakers. And then he proceeded to play the soundtrack on loop for the entire rest of the week. As did I. And I'm gonna admit it, I actually hated Soda Pop the very first time I heard it. But it ended up growing on me so much that approximately 27 times a day, I'll just randomly get it stuck in my head. It's true, it is infectious. It's an earworm. And I think what also got me so into the songs is the animation. Like, if I heard Soda Pop just by itself, I honestly probably wouldn't give it another listen. But when I listen to Soda Pop now, I can see the choreo in my head with all the goofy little animations and the clapping ajumas, and it elevates the listening experience. And honestly, this is a case for all the songs. I enjoy the song, how it's done, perfectly fine by itself. I think it's a good song. But I think the visuals are what make me like it even more. Like, I can imagine Rumi jumping out of the airplane. And I also can't listen to it without also imagining the girls slaying the demons on beat and hearing all the little sound effects. Same with Your Idol. By itself, I think it's a fantastically produced song. And I've been listening to it on repeat. But I also can't hear Abby singing I Can Be Your Sanctuary without also seeing him do that sexy-ass move where he tosses his dangly hat beads to the side. Every time. Also really loved Takedown. I know Rumi is uncomfortable with how hateful it is, the whole movie, but I love a good, upbeat, hateful song. I don't know if you guys remember, but Takedown gave me kind of the same vibe as 2NE1's Hate You. It came out in like the 2010s, so younger viewers might not know what I'm referring to, but that song is so good and also incredibly hateful. Takedown is so funny to me as a song, because like, we as the audience know it's a diss track for actual soul-sucking demons, but in the perspective of a Huntrix stan in this universe, imagine your favorite idol group just released a song telling a guy he doesn't deserve to live and threatening to kill him. I don't think they actually ended up releasing it in the movie universe, but they should have, because that song bangs. I also loved the little song that Jinu sings when he's first introduced, and he's mocking Kima. And it's a shame there isn't like a 3-minute extended version of it, because I thought his voice sounded so beautiful. I liked Free. I think it's a nice song. But again, during my first watch, since the pacing of the movie is pretty fast, I remember when Rumi sang the lyrics, "Why does it feel right every time I let you in?" I was like, Rumi, you've had like 4 conversations with this guy, and in 2 of them you were trying to kill him. But like, I get it. It's a very cute song. I understand what they were going for. It just felt really fast, pacing-wise, for their relationship. Good song, though. My favorite song, though, is probably the final song, What It Sounds Like. Everything from the beautiful visuals, Rumi's patterns turning iridescent, the girls coming back together as a group and harmonizing and then fighting together, to the crowd lending their voices and energy to the song. It is so good. Do you guys remember Equestria Girls' Rainbow Rocks? When the girls sing together at the end to defeat the Dazzlings? It kind of reminded me of that, except if the friendship song actually sounded good. No offense to My Little Pony, by the way. I love My Little Pony. But realistically, if we're going song against song, I think the Dazzlings would have absolutely demolished the Rainbooms. Because the Rainbooms portion of Welcome to the Show sounded like something I sang in Vacation Bible School when I was like 11. But that's also probably because it's a movie for very young children. My point is, I love a fun little Battle of the Bands plot, even if the villain song ends up being way more popular, which I'm pretty sure was also the case for Your Idol. Okay, another side tangent. I saw a lot of people straight up get mad that any of the songs from this movie even charted, because it was from a Netflix animated film, and the groups aren't real. But like, do they not realize that there are actual people and producers behind the soundtrack? I feel like it's the same people who I've seen shit on KDA because it's a fictional K-pop group from League of Legends and therefore does not count. But the songs made for KDA all include 2 members of G-Idol, which is an actual K-pop group. You're telling me you heard Soyeon rapping as a Kali and you still don't think KDA is legit? I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm missing, and please feel free to let me know if you have a different opinion or take. It just gives me the same energy as critics who dismiss animation as real film solely because of it being animation, and I don't really f with that. I think it's one thing to just not like the songs. Because, yeah, there's plenty of K pop I personally don't enjoy. K pop is such a broad umbrella. But to completely dismiss the soundtrack as not legit because it's attached to an animated film is really silly, and I don't agree with it. Another thing I want to mention, I've seen some people take issue with the fact that the movie didn't delve into the dark side of the K pop industry. And why the hell would they? I can tell the people who accuse K-pop Demon Hunters of being K-pop industry propaganda have not seen the movie, because if you had, you would know it's not even remotely about the K-pop industry. It's about the struggle of self-acceptance and shame and identity. K-pop is just the setting for both the soundtrack and characters. You could replace K-pop with literally any other music genre and the messaging would have still been the same. I just think if the movie is meant to be a love letter to the director's Korean heritage and they wanted it to feel fun, modern, and uniquely Korean, then making the movie musical characters K-pop idols makes sense to me. I feel like a lot of people think that every movie based in Korea has to be a Bong Joon-esque social commentary, which is not a diss, by the way. His movies are great. But K-pop Demon Hunters knew what it wanted to be, and it achieved it. I think it's fine to pretend this movie is based in a more idyllic Korea, where idols are allowed to eat 3,000 calories before a show, and the birth rate isn't in complete shambles. The movie didn't even have the time to give Rumi's mom a name. You think it had time to introduce hasangs and protest trucks and online controversies? Actually, I'm glad a lot of the conflict wasn't focused entirely on social media, because every time a movie goes in that direction, I feel like it's so easy for them to completely f it up. Again, we're pretending Ralph Breaks the Internet never happened, because that is an example of a movie doing it so poorly. I liked the parts where social media did play a part in the movie, like the little gags of internet idol shipping and Bobby and Zoe bopping along to all the TikToks of Soda Pop. I'm just saying, I'm glad a lot of Rumi's internal conflict came from her desperately trying to repair the Honmoon and being half demon, and not because 1,000 people on Twitter said mean shit to her. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I don't know. I'm not going to cut most of this. Since I'm already complaining, if you'll allow me, I have one more complaint. The official Netflix merch for K-pop Demon Hunters looks kind of underwhelming. Like, some of the stuff is cute and fine, and I think recently they added some new stuff that was pretty interesting, like the Rujinu shirt from the actual movie, but I feel like there were a lot of missed opportunities here. I just wonder why they didn't take inspiration from the fictional merch featured in the movie. You're telling me they designed those sick-ass light sticks for both Huntrix and the Saja Boys and they didn't make them real? They look so good! You're telling me they didn't make posters that look like the posters in the movie from the signing? They could have even been printed with the girls' signatures. They literally have the design assets already for, like, most of these things. The custom norige that the girls wear could have been an excellent merch idea. Every time I go to Korea, I see norige being sold as souvenirs everywhere. Also, no photo cards? Who's on the merch team? And did the merch team watch the movie? Hello? I get it if maybe they didn't anticipate the movie being a big hit, but I think stuff like posters and photo cards and shirt designs from the movie would have been an easy, low-cost option. I don't know. I don't want a graphic tee of the same group promo image PNG slapped onto the front like it's a Hot Topic shirt. I want a notebook that looks like the cover of one of Zoe's idea notebooks. And, like, maybe have the opening page be printed with some of her lyrics or scribbles. I want stationery that looks like the cards Rumi and Jinu exchange with each other. I want the bracelet Jinu wears! What are you guys doing? Netflix, please! Okay, what else? What else did I really like? I really loved that the movie incorporated elements of Korean mythology and Korean folk art in the designs. I loved that the tiger looks genuinely kind of terrifying in design, but he ended up being so cute. And even though there were like 2 animal sidekicks, they didn't feel overbearing at all. Other observations from my notes. The tonic juice scene with Dr. Han made me laugh the first time I saw it because I have literally watched my dad fall for those exact same kind of scammy-ass herbal tonics in Korea. I didn't know it was such a common thing that they made a reference to it in the movie. Very funny. I really liked the scene of the Saja Boys busking in the streets because you don't even have to suspend your disbelief for the sake of the musical number. Like, that could have literally been a regular afternoon on the streets of Hongdae. I also really liked the detail of Gima first manipulating Jinu when he's busking in the streets and failing. because now he's busking in the streets successfully as a servant of Gima. Not sure if that was supposed to be a parallel, but I liked it. And I think most of all, I love the amount of fan art that this movie has spawned. I just love that artistically, you can tell this is a movie that the team had such a fun time working on, and I think it reflects in the amount of passion you see fans giving back to it through their art and edits, and I think that's beautiful. I also love seeing all the beautiful concept drawings that have been released. Again, when are we getting a Demon Hunters art book? Please! I'm on my knees, please! Anyways, I think I've yapped about this movie enough. I just really needed to get my thoughts out, so hopefully you enjoyed this one-sided voice call. And let me know your own thoughts. What do you agree with, disagree with? What observations did you make during your viewing? And tell me about your headcanons and theories. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while I am away. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, go check out Spilled Ink. You can hear me yap with Didas about whatever every single week. And I hope you guys are having a great summer. Go watch Kpop Demon Hunters again.